Have you ever found yourself staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, wondering if the universe has completely forgotten about you? When your carefully laid plans crumble, when doors slam shut just as you're about to walk through them, when life feels like a puzzle with missing pieces scattered across dimensions you can't even see, you're not alone in this feeling. And today we're going to explore how to find trust in the cosmic order when everything around you feels like chaos. I'm speaking to you as someone who has weathered those storms of confusion, who has questioned the very fabric of existence when nothing seemed to align with my understanding of how life should work. What I've discovered through years of study, meditation, and yes, countless sleepless nights, is that our inability to make sense of our circumstances doesn't mean the universe has stopped making sense. It simply means we're viewing our lives through a keyhole when we need to step back and see the entire door. The illusion of understanding. Let's start with a fundamental truth that might initially feel uncomfortable. We were never meant to understand everything. The human mind, remarkable as it is, operates within the constraints of linear time and limited perspective. We see our lives as a series of connected events, like reading a book page by page, but the universe operates more like a symphony where every note, even the seemingly discordant ones, contributes to a greater harmony we can only perceive when we zoom out far enough. Consider the story of Steve Jobs, who famously said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future." When Jobs dropped out of Reed College, it seemed like a failure, a waste of potential. Yet that decision led him to audit a calligraphy class that would later inspire the beautiful typography that became a cornerstone of Apple's design philosophy. What appeared to be a mistake became the foundation for revolutionizing personal computing. The ancient Chinese story of the farmer illustrates this beautifully. When the farmer's horse ran away, his neighbors said, "How terrible!" The farmer replied, "Maybe." When the horse returned with wild horses, they said, "How wonderful!" Again, he said, "Maybe." When his son broke his leg taming the horses, "How awful!" they exclaimed. "Maybe," said the farmer. When war came and his son was spared due to his injury, the neighbors understood the farmer's wisdom. Every event we label as good or bad exists within a context too vast for us to fully grasp in the moment. Redefining trust in universal intelligence. When we talk about trusting the universe, we're not talking about passive resignation or blind faith in some cosmic puppeteer pulling strings. We're talking about recognizing that there's an intelligence at work that operates beyond our immediate comprehension. This isn't about religion or specific spiritual beliefs, though it can certainly complement them. It's about acknowledging that the same force that orchestrates the perfect timing of seasons, the intricate dance of celestial bodies, and the miraculous complexity of a single cell might just know something about the unfolding of our individual stories. Dr. Deepak Chopra writes in The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success that the universe operates through dynamic exchange. Giving and receiving are different aspects of the flow of energy in the universe. When we resist what's happening in our lives, we're essentially trying to swim against a current that's designed to carry us toward our highest good. This doesn't mean we become passive observers of our own lives, but rather that we learn to work with the current instead of exhausting ourselves fighting against it. Think about the process of learning to ride a bicycle. At first, every wobble feels like a catastrophe. Every near fall seems like evidence that you'll never master this impossible skill. But there's something magical that happens when you stop gripping the handlebars so tightly, when you trust the bicycle's natural tendency to stay upright, when you allow the momentum to carry you forward. Suddenly, what felt chaotic becomes graceful. What seemed impossible becomes second nature. The wisdom of uncertainty. Uncertainty isn't the enemy of trust. It's actually the space where trust becomes most meaningful. Anyone can trust when the outcome is guaranteed. True trust emerges when we're willing to take the next step even when we can't see the entire staircase. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke these words not from a place of certainty about the future, but from a deep trust in the rightness of the path he was walking. Pema Chödrön, in her profound book, When Things Fall Apart, teaches us that you are the sky, everything else is just the weather. The storms of confusion, the clouds of uncertainty, the lightning bolts of unexpected change, they're all temporary weather patterns moving through the vast sky of your essential being. When you identify with the sky rather than the weather, you begin to understand that you can trust your ability to remain vast and spacious regardless of what's moving through your experience. I remember a period in my own life when nothing made sense. I had just gone through a difficult divorce, lost a job I thought was my calling, and found myself living in a city where I knew no one. Every morning felt like waking up in someone else's life. But in that space of complete disorientation, something interesting happened. Without the familiar landmarks of my old life, I was forced to discover parts of myself I never knew existed. The job loss led to freelance work that eventually became a thriving business. The divorce opened space for a relationship built on deeper authenticity. The move to an unknown city connected me with a spiritual community that transformed my understanding of purpose. Practical approaches to cultivating trust. So how do we practically cultivate this trust when our logical minds are screaming that nothing makes sense? First, we develop what I call evidence consciousness. This means actively looking for evidence that the universe is working in your favor, even in small ways. Maybe you needed to hear a specific message and it showed up in an unexpected conversation. Perhaps a delay that frustrated you actually prevented you from being somewhere you didn't need to be. Start collecting these moments like precious gems. Rumi wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. And do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come?" This ancient wisdom points to a practice of surrendering our attachment to how we think things should unfold and opening to the possibility that what's actually unfolding might be even better than what we had planned. Meditation becomes crucial here, not as an escape from reality, but as a way of touching the still point within yourself that remains unshaken regardless of external circumstances. When you can access that place of inner stability regularly, you begin to trust it more than the chaotic chatter of your worried mind. Even 5 minutes a day of sitting quietly and focusing on your breath can begin to shift your relationship with uncertainty from fear to curiosity. The role of synchronicity and signs. Carl Jung introduced the concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that seem to suggest an underlying order to events that transcends cause and effect. When we're in a state of trust, we become more attuned to these synchronicities, and they become guideposts helping us navigate through periods of confusion. But here's the key. We don't wait for signs to make decisions. We make decisions and then notice how the universe responds. It's like having a conversation with existence itself. You speak through your choices and actions, and life speaks back through the results, the opportunities that open or close, the people who appear or disappear from your path. Elizabeth Gilbert, in Big Magic, describes creativity as a conversation between herself and the universe. She shows up with dedication and openness, and the universe responds with inspiration and opportunity. This same principle applies to all areas of life. When we show up authentically, when we take aligned action even without guarantees, we invite the universe to meet us halfway. Working with resistance and fear. Let's be honest about the fact that trusting the universe when nothing makes sense isn't always a peaceful, Zen-like experience. Sometimes it feels more like jumping off a cliff and hoping there's water below. The fear is real, the resistance is natural, and honoring these feelings is part of the process. Fear often arises when we're attached to specific outcomes or timelines. We had a plan, and reality isn't cooperating with our plan, so we conclude that something has gone wrong. But what if the wrong turn is actually the right turn viewed from a larger perspective? What if the delays are protecting us from something, or the obstacles are redirecting us towards something better? I think about the story of Oprah Winfrey being fired from her first television job in Baltimore for being too emotionally invested in her stories. What seemed like a career-ending failure actually freed her to find her authentic voice, which eventually led to becoming one of the most influential media personalities in history. The universe's no to one path opened up a much greater yes that she couldn't have imagined at the time. The practice of radical acceptance. Radical acceptance doesn't mean becoming a doormat or giving up your agency. It means fully acknowledging what is true in this moment without wasting energy fighting against reality. From this place of acceptance, we can make clearer decisions about how to respond rather than react from a place of resistance and fear. Tara Brach, in her book Radical Acceptance, explains that the boundary to what we can accept is the boundary to our freedom. When we expand our capacity to be with what is, we expand our capacity to respond creatively and wisely to whatever life presents. This practice looks like saying, "Okay, universe, I don't understand why this is happening, but I trust that there's something here for me to learn or receive. Show me how to work with this rather than against it." It's a prayer of partnership rather than a plea for rescue. Building faith through small steps. Trust in the universe is built like muscle strength, through consistent small exercises rather than attempting to lift massive weights all at once. Start with trusting the universe with small things. Trust that the right parking space will appear. Trust that you'll meet the people you need to meet. Trust that the resources you need will show up when you need them. As you begin to notice the universe's responsiveness to these smaller acts of trust, your confidence grows for trusting with bigger things. It's like learning to dance with a partner you can't see. At first, you step on each other's toes, but gradually you learn to feel the subtle cues, to follow the lead, to add your own creative flourishes while staying in harmony with the larger rhythm. The greater perspective. From a cosmic perspective, the period of your life when nothing makes sense might be the most important period of your life. It might be when you're being prepared for something beyond your current imagination, when old patterns that no longer serve you are being cleared away, when space is being created for new levels of possibility to emerge. As Rainer Maria Rilke wrote in Letters to a Young Poet, "Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act, just once, with beauty and courage." What if the chaos you're experiencing isn't a sign that you're off track, but rather evidence that you're being reorganized at a level too deep for your conscious mind to track? Moving forward with grace. So how do we move forward when we can't see the path? We take the next right step. We act from our highest understanding in this moment while remaining open to new information. We hold our plans lightly while holding our values firmly. We trust that our willingness to grow, to love, to serve, to contribute something meaningful to this world is being honored by forces beyond our immediate perception. Remember that every person who has ever made a significant contribution to humanity has walked through periods where nothing made sense. The darkness before the dawn isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. It's where transformation happens, where old skins are shed, where new versions of ourselves are born. Your journey forward. As we close, I want to acknowledge the courage it takes to even consider trusting the universe when your logical mind has a long list of evidence for why that trust might be misplaced. The fact that you're here, seeking understanding, willing to expand your perspective, is itself evidence that something within you knows there's a larger story unfolding than the one your worried thoughts are telling you. Your willingness to trust doesn't guarantee that life will suddenly become easy or make perfect sense. What it guarantees is that you'll be working with the forces of creation rather than against them, that you'll be open to receiving the gifts that are trying to reach you, that you'll be aligned with your own becoming rather than fighting to remain who you've always been. The universe isn't testing you to see if you're worthy of good things. It's constantly offering you opportunities to discover just how worthy you already are. Your job isn't to figure it all out. Your job is to stay open, to keep choosing love over fear, growth over stagnation, trust over control. I'd love to hear about your own experiences with trusting the universe during difficult times. What practices have helped you find peace in uncertainty? What synchronicities or unexpected blessings emerged from periods that initially made no sense? Share your stories in the comments below, because your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this message resonated with you, if it offered you even a moment of peace or a new perspective on your current challenges, please subscribe and share this with someone who might benefit from hearing it. Together, we're creating a community of people committed to growing through uncertainty, to finding meaning in the mystery, to trusting the intelligence that moves through all things, including our own beautiful, complex, perfectly imperfect lives. Remember, you don't have to understand the universe to trust it. You just have to be willing to take the next step, and then the next, knowing that each step is taking you exactly where you need to go, even when the destination remains beautifully, mysteriously unknown.